That last voice you hear in the introduction sounds suspiciously like Governor Otter. And actually, I don't know if we'll get him on the show again soon, but we got to ask him if he's going back to Washington as Interior Secretary. But that's a story for another day. Got a couple of guests in studio today. We're talking firearms, firearm safety, firearms training, varieties of firearms, any Second Amendment issues. We do this on Friday mornings just after 9 o'clock news. Of course, Forrest Anderson is off today because he's on another mission. We'll put it that way. So John Statler is filling in, and he's not been singing about counting flowers on the wall, but it is spelled the same way,
Well,
and
yeah.
he wishes he had the Statler brothers paycheck.
Oh yeah, I say not close enough to get money out of the deal, but
Yeah.
close enough to have the name. Yeah.
John, of course, from Washington Street Pond, and then we have Todd Eccles with us too from Patriot Defense.
Yep, I'm sitting here today. I'm looking forward to being here today. I love doing this show. So let's talk guns.
Let's do that. We're going to start out quickly because I got the first message from you this morning, Todd,
Yeah.
about we had to change in the law in July, and yet it sounds like people outside of Idaho think we're the lawless West and that everyone now is strapping on a sidearm and we're walking around gunning each other down in the streets. It hasn't happened, and we knew it wouldn't, but we're a little bit more level-headed here. On the other hand, if you're 18 years old, though, there's still some requirements for those people, the younger folks.
Right. But before the law went into effect on July 1st, 18-year-olds could actually open carry. Okay, they were legal to open carry. A little known fact that a lot of people still don't understand that when this law went into effect, it was kind of hidden in the bill a little bit, that 18-year-olds can now conceal carry, but they have to take the enhanced concealed carry permit class to do so. They can't just, everyone else, 21 and older, can actually conceal carry without a permit in the state of Idaho because we're constitutional carry. 18-year-olds can now conceal carry as well. They are just required to take the class. I've had a handful of 18-year-old, 19-year-olds come through my class. I'd love to see a lot more. Get in there, learn. It's fantastic. I love to see everyone show up in my class. I've got a full class this Saturday, which is tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it. So.
And again, the next class will come around probably.
It'll be in December. I was hoping I would have a date this morning, but I'm just waiting. Since I have to lease a range and stuff, I'm just waiting for the balls to line up perfect.
And I know you also were talking too. I saw this on Facebook. You could work with people who may have a disability.
I can. I've had lots of people with disabilities actually come and take the class. I'm real open to doing whatever we need to. I've had people with severe arthritis. I've had people, different handicaps and walkers, wheelchairs. You name it, we can get something to, figured out. Even if you can't shoot with everyone else, we can wait till after class, and I'll stay late, and we'll shoot. We'll get you your permit. We'll do whatever we need to do.
Even people who have hearing issues.
Even people who have hearing issues. I've got a gentleman tomorrow, actually. He's got some hearing issues, and I was actually just texting him a little while ago about how we're going to approach this tomorrow and how we're going to get it taken care of. And he's excited. I'm excited. It's going to be a good day.
And John, we were talking off air too as well. Lots of things we should be thinking about when we're getting to this time of year. We jokingly said buy someone something at the shop as a gift, because people, if you love someone, you want them to be able to defend yourself. But even beyond that, year round, there are certain things you want to talk about today that people might think about.
Yeah, you can buy people gifts, guns, not a problem. Even kind of what you were saying, you can carry when you're 18. You still can't buy a pistol till you're 21 from a dealer. But if you want to buy, son or daughter, or somebody a pistol, you can come in and you can legitimately buy it as a gift for somebody. So that's not a problem. You just fill out the paperwork and then you gift it to them.
There are a number of other things too. I think you were talking about. This time of year, people are picking up too, as well, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're selling tons of guns this time of year, and say you can come in, you can buy guns, you can buy ammo, and a lot of this stuff is starting to become more available. I think a lot of it was being bought up because there's a little bit of a panic, not getting into the politics of it, but people thought certain people were going to get elected and they didn't. And you're seeing a lot of this ammo come out for sale now. You're seeing a lot of the guns come out for sale. Uh, we're actually going to do kind of a huge ammo buy. So people come in, say we're going to do like 9mm, 223, kind of that NATO calibers. Come in, we're going to do a huge buy, get the best prices we can, and if you want to buy that as gifts, that always goes over well with the gun guy. I know I'd love to get ammo. So one of you guys want to buy me some ammo? Yeah.
It's easy to wrap too.
Yeah, easy to wrap and hard to guess, right? But anyways, yeah. So And then as far as gifts, I mean, there's just tons of stuff you can buy. Guns, you can buy ammo, you can buy accessories, and all that stuff is readily available right now.
I was going to throw this out to both of you because uh, a lot of people, if you're a novice at this, if you're buying ammunition while you're training, it's a you don't have to buy a world class ammunition for a training course.
Right. You just need what they call target rounds. You just need, usually full metal jacket, round nose, target rounds. It's going to be typically going to be the cheapest ammo you can buy. Okay. Use that when you're shooting at paper plates. Use that when you're shooting at cardboard. Now, when you're going to use ammo or buy ammo for self defense, buy the good stuff. Spend the money. Get a good hollow point, one that's proven. You can get online, you can watch videos, you can see different comparisons. Get the good stuff. A good hollow point is, to kind of just be blunt, it's made to go in and cause a lot of damage and not leave its intended target. It's made to go in, create a large wound channel, and get the job done without collateral damage.
Guys, grab your headsets because we have a caller joining us, and I'll just point out, too, caller, we'll get to you in a moment. But for those folks who are listening, 7360300 if you have a comment or question. Again, that's 7360300. It's coming up on 13 minutes after 9 o'clock and 27. And you're on the air. You're on KLIX. Go ahead.
Good morning, sirs. I think for the first time in a long time after an election, I don't feel panicked about what's going to happen to my guns. Now, my question is, because of this and Trump being pro-Second Amendment, do you foresee the demand for ammunition guns go down so the prices will go down?
Well, we're already kind of seeing the prices on ammunition come down. Like I said before, there was kind of a panic buy when everybody thought Hillary was going to get elected, and even a lot of our suppliers were holding back because they didn't know what was going to happen. I even talked to Armalite, and they wouldn't sell us parts because they were scared of the election. Now that it's gone Trump's way, and he's come out and said, "I'm not going to do anything," we're seeing it readily available. We're seeing the prices come down. We're even seeing deals where they're throwing mags in on the deal. I think you're going to see the price and availability on all ammunition across the board come down.
It's interesting to point out, too, that there were times when I know people over the last 8 years felt that there were shortages, and we were hearing about how a lot of spent ammunition was being packed up and sold overseas because, and I don't know, some of that may have been rumors, some of it did turn out to be true, but it looks as if we're back to what they used to call in school laissez-faire capitalism, where if people want to make ammunition and sell it, they can make as much as they want, and that definitely is going to help with prices and the like.
Yeah, that's definitely helping with the price, and also a lot of the shortage was almost created by the consumer though, because you'd get into this panic buy, and they would just buy and buy and buy. The example I used is before the panic, I'd see 22 and I'd buy a box or two once in a while. After the panic, every time I saw it, I would buy the 22. So we kind of created it ourselves, but now that the panic is gone, I think you're going to start to see it come back.
And of
Doc,
course,
I don't buy 2 and 4,000 rounds all the time. Never. I think my UPS man hates me.
he's got a back issue now from lugging all that around.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that we were seeing for months and months and months record numbers of background checks. That's a sign of people are actually saying, I need to do this now. That may taper off a little bit at this point.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see that in background checks. You're also going to see it in, we were going to talk about this a little later, but like suppressor sales. You almost couldn't get suppressors for a while, and they're starting to come back. Anything gun related is starting to come back.
Now, for people who don't know what a suppressor is,
Oh,
maybe you can explain that.
well, okay, so you have suppressors. Some people call them silencers, some people call suppressors. They're
Mhm.
both correct. When Maxim invented them, he called it a silencer. And all it is it's a piece that goes on the end of the barrel, and it suppresses the report of the gun. Uh, it's not like in the movies where they show them shooting 10 people and nobody knows next door. It's what it does is it makes it hearing safe. And that's what a suppressor is designed to do. So, and I always tell people if I lined up 100 people and shot a suppressor in front of them, 99 would be surprised how loud it still was. Uh, and it's a class three item. I guess you want me to get into that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Okay. So you have what you call class three items or NFA items. And what those are is short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, suppressors. And at Washington Street Pawn, we are a class three dealer, so it means we can buy and sell those. Now you get into the thing of, if it's made in Idaho, I can buy it without a tax stamp. I'm here to tell you that is absolutely false. You have to buy these items from a dealer. and say, if you want a suppressor, come on down. We can talk about it. We can get you into the right one because there's tons of different suppressors, and it's really, really way more enjoyable to shoot with a suppressor than it is.
Plus, if you're at a range and you're near somewhere down the road a housing development, it's going to at least make things a little easier on the people who live there too.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits is, it's easier on you, it's easier on the people around you. Forrest and I, we shoot with suppressor all the time. My brother still hasn't bought one, even though I keep telling him, and I keep telling him, look, you can't shoot with this anymore if you don't have a suppressor, because he shoots a scar and that thing will rattle your teeth, without a suppressor. But you're right, it helps the community around. Uh, you can even hunt with them in the state of Idaho. Now you have to remember the gun still has to be under 16 pounds, but you can throw a suppressor on, hunt with it, makes it easier on your ears. The biggest thing is you're not damaging your hearing. Uh, there's a lot of people who even shoot 22 without hearing protection. That damages your hearing.
I was going to say, good for your ears though. I mean, if you're hunting,
Yeah.
especially, you can't
Oh,
have muffs on. You can't be because you need to hear what's going on around you.
Well, in Europe, it's considered polite to have a suppressor. And in fact, there's a bill, I forget exactly is it the Hearing Safety,
yeah, the Safe Hearing
the
Act.
the Safe Hearing Act that is supposed to, they've been trying to get through, I think, for a couple of years. And I saw it get brought up again now that Trump is going to be the president. And that maybe they're thinking maybe they got a better shot this year at pushing that through, which would make it so it wasn't necessarily, you wouldn't have to get a tax stamp, hopefully, but you could still sell the heck out of them.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to get a tax stamp like you do now. What it would do is basically classify it like a firearm. So you would come in, you do a background check, just like you were buying a pistol or rifle, and you'd walk out the door with it. It would take away the tax stamp that you would need. You'd still need it for short barrels and stuff, but just suppressors.
Can you
wouldn't need
imagine how many you'd sell if that
it.
happened?
I'd sell 1 billion.
And threaded barrels.
Yeah, I would buy probably 1 million of that billion.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's nothing wrong with making the cash registers go ka-ching, ka-ching at
Right.
that point. Speaking of sounds, because you brought this up, like if you watch a James Bond movie, it's always pew, pew, when they actually use it. And, and then he takes the gun, and if he doesn't want to shoot somebody, whacks him aside the head with it, and as if it might hurt. I think it was the Rockford Files was the only TV show I ever saw where they would pistol whip somebody and they wouldn't get knocked out. Rockford would just say, what did you do that for? And because this notion that you just have to give someone a quick swipe is going to do that is a little bit far-fetched.
In one of my classes, when 22 ammo, I know it's still not great to get a hold of, but when we're really having troubles with it, when people get a hold of it, it's just Todd's opinion here. I feel like they were mass producing a bunch of it, and the quality kind of started to go down. And I had a gentleman bring a semi-automatic 22 pistol to class, and it was not cycling like it should. And he had a suppressor, and he's like, "Can I screw the suppressor on and shoot it?" And he did that. That gun worked flawlessly. Created enough back pressure. He used that suppressor the whole rest of the class. It was pretty cool.
We've got more coming up. John Statler and, of course, Todd Eccles in studio with us, talking firearms today. It's 9:20. It's 26. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. Our guests are talking firearms today, and on this show we talk everything from just supplies you may need. We talk about various models. Lots of people have questions about that too, because even if you've been listening for weeks on end and you suddenly decide you're going to go out and outfit yourself, all of a sudden it gets a little confusing again, and sometimes you need someone to walk you through that. Todd Eccles is here from Patriot Defense, and John Statler is joining us from Washington Street Pawn. 27 right now. It's 22 minutes after 9 o'clock. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. And if you have one of those questions today, remember, these are the guys who can answer that for you. 736-0300 is the number if you'd like to reach us, 736-0300. We were talking a little bit about suppressors, silencers, as they're called in the movies, in the last segment of the program. But, for anybody doing this, and these are questions, number one, they need to pick the stuff up somewhere like Washington Street Pawn, but if you're training too as well, you can't just walk in with a pistol. You got to have so many other things involved. Number one, holster. You got to have a carrying bag if you're going to a class. For someone who's just starting out, there's almost a checklist, isn't there, of what they need?
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, when you take my class, when you take the basic permit class, I have a lot of people that have not shot at all to people who have been shooting for years. So in this specific class, the permit class, I don't have them. They don't need a holster. I can't have people drawn from a holster that have never been around holsters. That's accident waiting to happen. So, but yeah, a lot of people bring some kind of case with their guns and their ammo in it, whether it be a nice gun case, which you can buy a nice range bag to a backpack. I've seen that. You need eye protection, you need ear protection. You need your ammo, you need your firearm. I'm sure you can pick up most of this down at Washington Street Pawn. They can outfit you. You show up, man. You can look like you know what you're doing, and then we can go start shooting, and I can help you with all the rest.
You should probably have, though, when you get there, because you don't want people taking a lot of time to reload. You should probably have your magazines already ready to go in this situation.
No, I mean you don't actually. I tell everyone to have a couple magazines with them, but when you come into my class, you can load them if you want. I'm probably just going to make you unload them because when we run drills at my class in the shooting portion, my drills are only like I think if I remember right, there's 7 rounds for every drill, and I control that. I don't care if you've got a 30 round, what they call a 30 round happy stick. You're only putting 7 rounds in there because as soon as you are done shooting that drill, I want to know that that gun is empty. Okay, so you're never going to be loading your magazines to full capacity. And that's for your safety, my safety, for the safety of everyone else in the class. I have a lot of people who already got my mags loaded. I said, well, take them all out except for 7. And then we will load, we'll do the drill, you'll get done. Then I'll tell everyone, instruct everyone to reload another 7 rounds and do it all over again. That's how I retain control of the class.
John, people often come into the store, and I'm sure they don't even know how to load up a magazine, right? And you almost have to sit down and say, okay, this, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, but you can show them in the shop, how it's done, right?
Yeah, we get a lot of first-time gun buyers come in, and a lot of times we're saying, okay, this is how you load it. This is, this is how you're safe. This is, we even will say, basically, this is how you hold it. A lot of people like to do the movie grips. And we help you with the teacup. I was just doing the
Yeah.
teacup. They call it the Jack Bauer because it only works on TV for Jack Bauer.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, we can help you with that. And as far as getting you outfitted for the classes, we can help you out. And it's always a good thing to buy an extra mag or so because a lot of these guns are coming with one mag. And the worst thing is you're out there shooting and that mag malfunctions and now you have nothing. So, we can get you outfitted with, the case if you need it, the magazines definitely, and say we'll show you basically how to work it. We'll even help you, show you how to break the gun down to clean it. We have a lot of people that we say, look, when you're going to clean it or oil it, if you need help, bring it in. We'll help you out. We had a guy the other day came in with a bag of parts. He's like, I took my gun apart to clean it. I can't get it back together. We put it back together. Now, if you have some weird guns, sometimes I have to go on YouTube and look how to put that back together. But we can help you with it.
What about a loader? I know a lot of these people, especially if you've got a new gun, a new magazine, those magazines, if you haven't loaded a lot of magazines, I'm okay with them, but if you haven't loaded a lot, the springs are tight and they're real tough to load, especially for maybe older people or even women. And some of these guys would come in with those little reloader tools that are kind of, I call it cheating. But do you guys have those?
Yeah, we can get those too. And the reloader is a great idea. I even took a class, and we were shooting a lot. I mean, we
Yeah.
shot 3,000 rounds in a couple days, and your thumbs just are killing you.
Oh, you know it by the end of the day.
Yeah, so you can get the automatic ones. Some guns like Glocks and stuff, Springfields, they'll come with the loader.
Yeah.
It'll work in a pinch, but you're right. One of those nice loaders is always a good deal, and we can get those too.
Now, of course, you just mentioned Springfield and Glock, and the Glock would be a fairly inexpensive firearm, where the Springfield, on the other hand, might be very expensive. So you would expect someone might provide that with it too, as well.
Yeah, and but you can get some really good, inexpensive guns now too. That the Taurus PT-111, we sold 600 or 700 of these, and they come with the extra mag. Now they don't come with a loader, but they come with some things that you'll need. So it doesn't necessarily the amount you pay for the gun doesn't mean you're getting extras. Like I'm an HK fan, and I pay all kinds of money for HKs, and they don't give you anything. They're like, you got enough money to buy the HK, you can buy it all yourself. So it doesn't necessarily, but we can always tell you, okay, this came with this piece, you're going to need this, or this only comes with one mag, you'll probably need another mag. So we've bought and sold enough guns, we just know what they come with at this point.
We're going to squeeze a caller, and we've got about a minute and a half before the break. Caller, you're up next. You're on the air on KLIX. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have a quick question. I've been told, two sides, that you should not keep your magazines loaded up because it's hard on the springs. You should either rotate them or just keep one on and rotate them. So I'll hang up and take your answer. Thank you.
I've heard that too, and I think with the newer metal, the newer magazines, I think you are okay. Most of them actually, like my carry gun, I constantly keep that magazine loaded, and when I carry a spare mag, it's constantly loaded all the time too. I think you're going to be fine. The older stuff, I think when they had different variants in steel, I mean, I could be mistaken, but I think that's where the problem lies. But this newer stuff, I think you're going to be 100% okay.
Want to thank you for the call, and we'll take a short break. We've got more time for your telephone calls in the next half hour. 736-0300 would work. Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense. What's your contact information?
Hey, you can find me on Facebook under Patriot Defense. I'm always there. Message me. You can give me a call at area code 620-794-6223. You can even text message me there. I will answer it right away.
We want to point out, too, if you didn't get the number quickly enough, you can see his cards over at Washington Street Pawn. And, John, how do people get in touch with the shop?
Well, we're on Facebook also. We have all kinds of media out there, and our number is 208-735-0012.
And just a few blocks away, we should point out from the radio station, you can often see an old Volkswagen bus or a Ford truck outside. Forrest has a thing for Volkswagen buses, I guess. We've got more on the way in just a few minutes. It's 9:30. It's 27. Bill Colley with you as well on News Radio 1310, KLIX at newsradio1310.com. We're having a conversation off air, and we had a caller who brought up a couple of quick questions about magazines and use of magazines and do they wear out and the like. But it got us into a conversation off air about various manufacturers and the like. And John brought up an interesting point about Glock. You know, it was an engineer who designed this, and he walked in saying, all right, from an engineering standpoint, how do I design firearms? John Statler is here. He is joining us from Washington Street Pawn, and Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. A lot of people, when they buy, they're buying that first firearm. Of course, sometimes, you know, I wanted to go back to a 1911. I hadn't shot one in 13 years, and I ended up going with Smith & Wesson instead, at least to begin with, because, well, with 1911, I just wanted the history of it. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best firearm for me, does it?
Oh, no, not necessarily. 1911s, they tend to be a little heavy and a little, big, but they're great firearms. And a lot of people buy them exactly why you did, because of the history. Like I own 3 of them, but I rarely shoot them. I probably shouldn't say that, but I rarely shoot them. But it's the history, like you're saying.
George Patton carried them on the battlefields of World War One.
Yeah, every GI carried one. Yeah.
We have a caller with us. And caller, you're up next. It's 9:35, and you're on KLIX. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I'm kind of cheap. I don't like spending a bunch of money, but I like having a bunch of magazines for my AR. And, I usually buy Magpul like that. But I'm kind of curious what your guys' opinion of the TAPCO and some of these others are.
Okay, you're a little garbled, but I'm assuming you want to know AR mags, right? We've bought a lot of stuff. Working at a gun shop, you buy a lot of stuff, you test a lot of stuff. Metal mags, polymer mags, all that kind of stuff. Metal mags in general work great. I prefer the polymer mags, and you can get them fairly inexpensively now. Now that the buying craze has kind of gone down, you can even get Magpul ones really, really well priced. So I like buying those. We have some Hex mags in. We're actually going to try those out, see how they run, but they have a really good reputation. The Mission First tactical ones, they're really good priced. I like the polymer ones because they're very, very easy to take apart, easy to clean. You can change out those springs really quickly. So that's where I go, and they're actually cheaper than the metal ones usually.
We know when we were talking off air, we were talking about German manufacturers, obviously, and what they're doing. And if Germans are known for their engineering, I guess, skill, automobiles, firearms, whatever it happens to be, but a number of different places around the world. I put a quick note down that I wrote Philippines on a piece of paper because depending on, well, you can't be sure, I suppose. There are some people who are manufacturing firearms in the Philippines in the jungle because they're trying to do it under the table, if you will. But I've read that you have some legitimate Philippine manufacturers, and they're doing some nice work.
Oh yeah, they're doing some great work. We've seen a lot of 1911s come through for them, and even there's some gun companies that are using the parts made in the Philippines, and they're putting them together here and selling them as their own. I don't want to get into what brands and stuff, but and you're even seeing, well, I can say this, Springfield, they're using parts coming out of Brazil. So these companies, they know what they're doing. They're making a ton of stuff. Uh, you'll even see guns from Turkey. People come in like, I don't know if I want to make a gun from Turkey. Well, they've been making guns longer than we've been a country. They know what they're doing. There's a lot of good guns coming from overseas. And when we were talking about 1911, we have guys that come in and they want a 1911, but they don't want to spend, like my Colt was $1,000. Your Springfield's probably close. You can get into one of these, the Armscore ones, fairly inexpensively, 500-600 bucks, and it's just as good. I always tell people it's really hard to mess up a 1911. Yeah, they've been making them for 100+ years.
Todd's got a follow up, but before we do that, we'll get to a caller. It's 9:30. Call it 9:38. Caller, you're up next. You're on KLIX. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. Happy to speak with you. Listen, while we're speaking about magazines, I have a question about the metal magazines versus the polymer magazines, specifically regarding the feed lips. And a related question is, some people say, don't leave them loaded all the time. Some other people say, I'll go ahead and leave them loaded. It doesn't matter. You can leave them loaded indefinitely. I was wondering about that, especially how it relates to polymer versus steel feed lips on the magazines. Thank you, gentlemen.
When polymer magazines first came out, especially like the pioneers of it, they had a little bit of trouble with the magazines. It wasn't the feed lips that were breaking. The top of the magazine was spreading slightly because that's where kind of they're fused, and they've beefed that up a lot. Like the first gen mags, yeah, there was some problem, but now that we're in the second, third, and fourth gen mags, there's no problem with those feed lips. And I've actually experienced that with the metal mags, if you drop them straight down and they hit that feed lip, you can actually bend it a lot easier than you can break a polymer one. So that's another reason I didn't want to get in all the specifics, but another reason why I prefer the polymer ones. They're a lot harder to break. They're a lot harder to bend up. So just from the durability standpoint, I like the feed lips better on the polymer one.
We'll take a short break for a moment. We've got more coming up, about 20 more minutes of the show still ahead. We wanted to mention Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense is in studio with us. Also, John Statler joining us from Washington Street Pawn. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310. KLIX at newsradio1310.com. We're up to 29. We'll get there, but it'll take a while by the looks of things. We've got about 15 minutes left in the program. We're talking firearms today, firearms safety and firearms equipment, supplies, Second Amendment, ammunition, 944. Joining me in studio, we've got John Statler. He is here joining us, filling in for Forrest said he had another mission this morning, so he's taking care of some business there from Washington Street Pawn, and Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense. And we were having a little bit of a conversation during the break about just people who come to a class. Sometimes, they have a particular firearm they'd like to bring, but certain firearms don't belong at a range during training.
I allow, if it's a safe gun and I deem it safe and it's not falling apart on the firing line, I'll allow you to shoot whatever you need to. Okay. And I don't ever want to come out and say that's a bad gun, don't use it. I let people learn for themselves. Okay. If you want to bring a 1911, there's nothing wrong with that. I got nothing. I'm going to get all kinds of weird emails now from people who like 1911s, but there's nothing wrong with 1911s. I like to shoot them. Do I own one? No. But, our drill is set up for 7 rounds, and a 1911 will work. I have people that bring in revolvers. Those will work as well. But if you bring in a 6-shot revolver, you're going to shoot 6 to everyone else shooting 7. Everyone else is going to hit their 98 rounds, and then we're all going to stand back and watch you play catch-up and finish off your box of ammo. Some people don't like that.
It's a timely situation.
It is, but bring whatever you want, and my goal is that if it's not appropriate for maybe carrying, you'll notice that after you fire 98 rounds and we talk about some things, you'll go, there's got to be a better gun out there for me. So, and then that's when you go down and to Washington Street Pawn, visit the guys down there, visit Forrest, and they can help guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's our big thing is when somebody comes in to buy a gun, we're just not trying to shove the most expensive thing on you. We're going to ask you, what are you going to do with it? That's probably the question I ask the most. Well, what do you want to do with it? And if you say, I'm going to go take Todd's class or something, I can say, okay, these are good for the classes. These are good for carry. Or if you just want to go shoot, once in a while, these are good guns. So we're going to talk to you and find out what you need, not just shove something on you.
I'm still waiting for the guy to show up with the cap and ball pistol, but I haven't seen that yet.
We had a sad story about 2 weeks ago up in the Caldwell, Ada County area, where a woman, 89 years old, was carjacked. And people, even at that age, people think, well, we don't want to have people 75, 80 years old walking around with firearms. But my gut feeling is they have just as much an opportunity to defend themselves. Do you train people who are and do you number one trained and number two do they buy? I mean that's a good
Oh, I
question.
get them coming into my class all the time. I think I had the oldest person in the class was like 82, and she was a firecracker, and she had fun shooting, and she was shooting a 22, which is understandable, and we had a great time. I encourage that. I mean, everyone's got the right to self defense. Whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're handicapped,
Hmm.
or you have a disability, everyone has that right to self defense. Come in and get your permit, and take care of it.
You get older customers at the shop, right, John?
Oh yeah, we see all kinds of ages there, and we're seeing more older ladies come in and their husbands, and we make sure that they're getting a gun that they can shoot. Like we're not going to sell them a huge 44 mag because obviously they can't shoot it. But like Todd was saying, lady was shooting a 22, 22 mag, great defensive guns, and we're selling a lot of those to kind of the older people because it's easier to rack the slide. And Todd can tell you sometimes these slides they're pretty tough to rack and you're going to learn real quick when you take his class what's easy to do, what's not to do. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of them come in lately and
There,
buy guns.
there's a story. I have a story. It's a picture, a meme, if that's what you want to call it, on Facebook. And a little old lady driving a car down the interstate. She gets pulled over by the highway patrol. He comes up there and is talking to her. And she says, "I got a 357 under the seat. I got a rifle in the back. I got a 38 special in the glove compartment. I got a 9 millimeter right here on the floor." And he's like, "What are you scared of?" And she goes, "Not a dang thing." So there you go.
That would be true. Yeah.
And that's the other thing we tell people is you want to get a gun that you're comfortable shooting, and for women and they like the 380s, so we get a lot of those. For older people, they like the 22s, and we always tell them you need a gun that you can be confident with. Like you can take this to Todd's class and you can shoot your 100 rounds, and then when you pull it out, you're going to be confident you're going to hit. So I always tell them it's better to hit somebody 9 times in the chest with a 22 than miss them all 5 times at the 357. And Todd can show, people bring these huge guns and they're hard to shoot. And,
They are, especially, you touched on 357s. There's nothing wrong with 357s, but you get a 357 snub nose revolver, that's like a little animal in your hands if you're the wrong person. I mean, it'll jump around, all kinds of stuff. I've seen it. I've seen it, and I've had to talk to, and they were shooting 38s out of it. Um, we talked about it, and by the end of the class, they shot all their rounds. By the end of the class, they were ready to go find something else.
People are concerned obviously about stopping power. I mean, if you're going up against a grizzly, certain ammo wouldn't work.
Right.
But in most situations, people, if they ever find themselves in that critical situation, uh, stopping power, as you say, 22, a few hits, going to stop someone dead in their tracks.
yeah, when people talk about stopping power, they're kind of talking about is it going to stop who's coming at me? And it is better to hit somebody in the head or the chest with a 22 than wing them in the arm with a 45. So that's why I was saying you need to be comfortable. You need to be able to pull it out, hit them, and use the gun for what it's supposed to be used for.
Is the stopping power going to stop the person, or is the stopping power going to stop you from pulling that trigger again? You need to be able to get back onto target quick. It's all about getting rounds on target, and,
Yeah,
and getting back on target quickly. That's what I'm sorry about that.
yeah, we talked about that a lot in the shop and the SEALs. Some of the best shooters out there, and they use 9 mil for
9 millimeter.
exactly. Yep, exactly what Todd was saying is because SEALs say rounds downrange win fights, and you can shoot a 9 millimeter twice for every one time you can shoot a 40 or 45. So that means if you have an attacker coming at you, you can shoot him and be back on target and shoot him again before you can bring that 45 back to
Well,
target.
and I've heard this story too, or people asking this question. You show up. Let's say you show up to your house. You know your family's in there. You don't know how many bad people are in there, but you know there's bad people in there. There's a table right there on the street. There is a loaded 1911. It's got 8 rounds. You have a loaded 9 millimeter. It's got 18 rounds, 16 rounds. Which one are you going to grab and go in and take care of your family? I mean, the writing's there. I grabbed the 9 millimeter. I don't know how many people are in there. I can shoot it better. I can get back onto target quicker. Target acquisition is better. So I'm sorry. I'm a 9 millimeter fanboy. That's my favorite flavor.
Well, the other thing to think about real quickly is with the modern day ammo, all this ammo is going to work great. 9 millimeter used to overpenetrate and you'd lose some of the power going through, but with these new hollow points and this new ammo, even a 380 is going to do a lot of damage. I mean, more damage than even 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing to think about. out there.
Oh yeah, and the 380 and the 9mm are not that far apart. You got a 9x17 versus a 9x19. I mean,
We want to mention, and we've got a caller coming in with us in just a moment. It's 9:51. 30. Hey, broke that barrier already today. Took a while, but we're there. We're at 30 degrees. And we have, of course, Todd Eccles from Patriot Defense in studio with us. And from Washington Street Pawn today, John Stadler. And caller, you're up next on KLIX. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question about ammo. I've got an old 70s Beretta 9mm, and I used to find the ammo with, I guess it was called a breast pin. It had a little bitty pin in the middle of it, and I haven't been able to find that anymore. Has that been outlawed or something?
No, that's still around. There is a couple companies that still do that. Has that kind of rod in the middle that keeps going. I want to say Starlight or something. I could, if you call me at the shop, I can look it up. But there's still one or two manufacturers that are still doing that pin. Most of it's now gone to kind of the Hydroshock style, where it just opens up like a kind of a big flower. But you say there is still a few manufacturers doing that. So you say, give me a call at the shop. I'll be there all day today, and we can definitely find you some.
Okay, appreciate it. 9mm rule, man.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
they do.
And by the way, classic, some of these people who own these classic firearms, obviously they've got a lot of questions like that, and you guys are the people who can answer those. Another caller with us. You're up next. You're on the air on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for being here. I'm a Model 1911 lover and also a cyclist. And I have been brushed by some rednecks many times through the cities of Twin Falls and Byler and that. And so I strapped on, I'm a left-handed fellow, and so I strapped on my 1911 on my left hip. And I noticed that they give me a real wide berth now. And what I would like you pick your brains here, that 1911 replica from my Vietnam era is awfully heavy. What else could I replace that with for that purpose? Something lightweight. I'm very, I have to keep the weight down because I try to cycle about 100 miles a week, and that extra weight is very, very heavy.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides to the 1911s. But if you like that style, there's a lot of companies that are making what they call lightweight, 1911s. Kimber is making a ton of them. Colt's making them with different frames. There's even a company that supposedly is bringing out a polymer frame 1911. We haven't seen it hit the market yet. But so you can go that way. You can get a lightweight 1911, but as the weight in that gun goes down, you tend to get a lot more recoil out of it. So the other thing to do is just get a specific gun that's made for concealed carry. And you're going to get, they're going to be in 9mm or 380. So you can get some at 40, but they tend to kick a lot. Now, the nice thing with that is it's lightweight. It's made to be concealed. You're getting a lot more rounds. So, and right now there's just tons and tons of good lightweight guns out there. And there's even like Springfield. They're making some lightweight guns which have that backstrap safety, like the 1911s. They continued that over. So that's always an option too.
Another thing you may look at, and you didn't mention this, so I don't know exactly. You said you're wearing it on the left side, so I'm not quite sure exactly what holster you're wearing. I'm not sure what kind of clothes that you wear when you're riding your bike. But depending, there's all different ways of carrying it. So I'm assuming when you say bike, I'm assuming you mean bicycle.
I wear the typical spandex, tight-fitting clothing,
okay,
helmet, etc.
Sure.
But it was really interesting. I was stopped at a light in Twin behind the mall there to turn left, and when I didn't accelerate fast enough, I got harangued pretty good. And then the very next week, I was at that same stoplight, but I had my 1911 on my left side, and I believe it was the same people behind me in a red pickup, and they gave me a pretty wide berth. And so I thought, this is the way to go. But can I come in and check some of these weapons out?
Oh, I'm sure you could go down to the. I kind of stepped on your toes here. I'm sure you could go down to Washington Street Pawn and they'd show you all kinds of stuff. Oh yeah, and they'd be more than happy to talk with you. And I was talking about holsters, since you do wear the tight fitting biking type clothes, you may look into different holsters. There's actually one called a belly band that actually some of these you want them to hold tight against you. And if you actually go with a lighter framed concealed carry type of weapon, if you got a good belly band, it would tuck it right up against your body. It's not going to flap out and be real heavy. So that might be something to look at as well.
Got about a minute to go, and before we wrap up today, we do want to point out contact information again at Washington Street Pawn, John.
Yeah, you can get a hold of us on Facebook, or you can call us at 208-735-0012.
And Todd?
You can find me on Facebook under Patriot Defense. You can call or text me at area code 620-794-6223.
Quickly, and just this is for my own information, I've got about 30 seconds to go, but the original 1911s, it was always 45, but we've had changes made. Some of them are using different rounds of ammunition. Are they lighter because of that? Changes?
You can get some that are lighter. You can get some that are just as heavy. A lot of the lightweight frames are going to that 9mm. You're seeing some in 40, but it's almost all 9. And go ahead.
I'm going to be devil's advocate. Yeah. Is it a true 1911 if it's not a 45? If you're going to go 9, never mind. I'll stop while I'm ahead.
We are taking next Friday off, but 2 weeks from today, we'll have more discussion about firearms and things you need to know and safety and the like. In the meantime, I want to thank Todd and John for coming by. And, of course, Rush Limbaugh follows the news at 10 o'clock in just a couple of minutes right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Bill Colley wishing you a good weekend as well. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, I'll be back here on Monday morning between 8 and 10 o'clock.